As Deku woke up, as he went to kindergarten, and as the school day began, but besides Deku, there was a new teacher in town, or in the city in general, from a very old neighborhood that's been recreated. The teacher had really no place to go, just to stand and watch. As Deku would craft something. Deku would create a mask of some sort. A very unique mask. One with a mouth almost looking like it has teeth and circles around the eye holes. And a line down the eye holes. As this mask will bring familiarity to him. As if he saw a person wear it on Halloween night, but can't remember who or what. As what Deku does, he goes near the swings and relaxes as the darkness that envelops the world slowly hides away behind Deku's body. The darkness that gloomed over Deku was no longer there, but a cheery person. He wanted to fit in with other students. He wanted to be happy for once, besides being happy with, himself. So he tries to talk with people, but people don't give him a chance, thinking he's too creepy, or due to his just aura about him. We go to the future. A week later, on the birthday and night of Halloween night, Deku has been given the abilities to see the past, present, and future. The mask, he sensed familiarity before it, as if he's seen it before, but doesn't know where. As he walks through Halloween, relaxing, as he realizes something, what he saw earlier in his dreams. He was outside his doorway, sitting on the balcony, seeing something awkward, or more like terrifying almost, as Deku blinked in and out of his own dimension into the Dead by Daylight universe, as he notices similarities between this street and the one in his dream, or what he thinks is his dream. He saw a tall man, almost looking like a janitor, with a white mask, go to a certain house and knock on the door. As he snaps back into reality, as everything hasn't changed, the only difference is that it doesn't look run down. As if they were the same place, but smaller. As you know, there was one thing that changed things. It was the point that Deku has now seen two images of the future. One creating the mask called Legion, he named it, and the second he's seen during a dream before he went to kindergarten. He gets many ideas, and the cruel kids at the kindergarten the next day wanted to do a prank on Deku. So what they decided to do is put some ink in Deku's water or juice. They put some ink and put some not a very kind, how would you say, pencil lead in there. As they twisted it and turned it, shaking it so it can be unnoticed. So after Deku came out from the bathroom, he saw his juice sitting there, as everyone was just having a smile on their face, as he drinks his juice completely and starts coughing. As he goes to the floor. Due to reasonings. Lead poisoning, most likely. Deku fainted and he was brought to the hospital the next day. Or more lines. I guess, yeah, the next day. As his mother would take... Really? No, really? I guess. So, as Deku's mother would, how would you say, take care of Deku until, you know, they were able to bring him to the hospital. But now we go a flashback. It's been a complete year since then. And ever since the kids have been putting lead and ink in his juice every day for the next year. As now we go to the present, as he's been highly detected of toxicity inside his bloodstream. Lead, ink, a couple other things as well that the doctors can't confirm to it being how would you say, detected. He's very sick at this point. As there would be, you know, a new doctor in town as well. Or more of an old doctor, but I'll say the second year in his job. He's been saving a lot of people recently. And he eventually sees Deku. A boy so kind, but yet so cruelly interrupted and corrupted by this world. The world that does not understand how special he is. As they said, the only way to completely take out the toxicity is if Deku would have to come to the doctors daily to pump out all of the lead from his bloodstream. Using a certain machine. So the past 2 years, Deku has been doing this. And now he's completely get rid of lead. As now we hit the time where Deku is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I get about. He would be 8. He would feel this sort of uncomfortability around his parents. His parents would, yes, they would, it's weird to say. They wouldn't understand Deku, and they would always be working. They would never have time for Deku. As Deku usually had time to look through mythology or just in general studies and other things like that. Deku would have an array of many items in his room. Array of them. Precisely 15 items precisely in his room. Each resembling their own characteristics. Of course, though, This time will not end, but when it does, the darkness will surround them. As Deku would be 10 when the first event will happen. There'll be 3 events. The first one will happen. As Deku would finally meet the great Bakugou Katsuki. Of course, at 9, him and Katsuki would get to know each other. But, you know, Deku would try to get along with Katsuki due to Katsuki being Inko's best friend. He tried his best for that entire year, but after he turned 10, he kind of just went on the road of it. Didn't give up, but more of the lines of, I have to be around you because your mother is my mother's best friend. So yes. Bakugou wouldn't like Deku. In a sort of sense that he feels like he's seen him before. Maybe younger. About 5 years old. And then after 5 years old, Deku kind of vanished from Bakugou's life. As the arrogance and just egotistical person he is, due to not being held back for his actions, not having the influence of Deku by his side, he would be a lot more egotistical and all about the power. Not a very good person, you would say. Bakugou or Deku wouldn't say anything, or any inference so that they even met in the past. From what Bakugou knows, he's only known Deku for 2 years. But what he doesn't know is that he technically knew him in 4 years. Yeah, technically 3, because pretty sure the 3rd year was practically more of illusion based than an actual thing. But yeah, the first inference, there'll be a very, how would you say? There'd be a very big tree. A very hollow tree, in fact. It would be hollow, surprisingly enough. It would be a very old, very, very old tree. The only reason they wouldn't be able to take it down is because it's kind of next to the school. And the school managers are too lazy to kind of remove it from the property. So Deku and, Bakugou's lackeys, same with Bakugou, they're playing Truth or Dare. And you know where I'm going with this? It's from a movie I've saw in the past. They dared Deku to kind of climb up the hollow tree. To climb up it. As you know, he's on a very high branch inside of it. As you know, Bakugou knows it's hollow. Or at least thinks it's hollow, I guess. He thinks it's, filled, but it's actually hollow. Somewhat of a miscommunication, but it's just his arrogance talking to him. As he punches the tree with his quirk, as this will be 20 feet high tree? Yeah, about 20 feet high tree. Yeah. Bakugou punches it with his quirk. As Deku's on the, I'll say, he's on the very top. So yeah. Deku falls down on the tree. It falls down a lot. It falls down a lot. The entire tree falls down. Deku is now in his own dimension. Bakugou knocked Deku down, or technically inside the tree since it is hollow. 20 feet drop. Yeah, that's gonna hurt. So it kind of, yeah. If you know where I'm going with this, you know what I mean. He's still alive, yeah, but I mean, kind of knocked out. Somewhat. So what happened is that there was a sudden glimpse into another reality, or, dream that Deku had. He dreams of multiple things. Many things. Seeing others that aren't, in his basic, armor, you would say. The basic killers. He would see other characters. He would see portals to other worlds. He would see many things in this tree, but it'd be awkward. He would see things, or technically not in the tree, but he would be in a dark void as portals from other worlds, as other people are being yanked to this certain portal. As he sees a demigorgon, he sees the pyramid head. He sees many things. He sees people just like him, just with masks. He sees many things in this time. But what he mostly sees, he notices the most, are two glowing purple eyes. He does not understand what it is, nor does he know. He sees this more of a, when he tried to walk up to the two purple eyes, they disappeared in the darkness, leaving him. As there was one word, forget. Deku does not understand. As Deku would wake up, Deku is now 13. Deku has been in a coma since, actually no, I did technically say that it's technically floating, so I can't make it a 5-year time skip. So he's 9, 10 right now, so... Should I do it at 12? Because I know the last one, the third one's going to be on 15, so... Or on his birthday, so I'll say... Second one's on 12. Yeah, about, that's right in the middle. So, a year passed. As Deku's been in a coma for a year. Practically a year. He doesn't understand this. He's looking around, looking for his parents, but his parents are unknown to be seen. As the doctor breaks the news to Deku. Your parents left you. They brought, after police and firemen brought you out of the hollow tree, your parents disowned you, making you an orphan. As Deku would be saddened by this, as he would be thrown into an orphanage, eventually being picked up by another. As suspiciously, Inko Midoriya and Hisashi Midoriya have been missing since that day. And ever since that day, they haven't been able to been found. As if they disappeared somehow. Don't know where, just disappeared. As Deku would be saddened by this. And he would be adopted by Mitsuki. Mitsuki would kind of be saddened by Deku due to, Inko just leaving, her son. And, technically running away with Hisashi. But what truly happens is that after all that happened, they were visited by a certain person, you would say. A certain Frank, if you will. I believe that's what his name is, yeah. A certain person named Frank that was watching this. He saw the similarities between himself and the boy, noticing that the boy's life is almost similar to his own, but not at the same time. As Deku would be alone for about a month or two, kind of trying a concept, and eventually after another month, Deku's parents would finally be found with their corpses ripped open. To their gut, all the way to their foot. That would be a giant slash, as if they were gutted like a fish. Pronounced dead. No one knows what this is, as Bakugou blames this on Deku. Deku, if you weren't so weak, maybe they would still be alive. As Mitsuki slaps Bakugou across the face. Bakugou crying and running up to his room. As there would be another age. There was originally some rumors going around of some things happening. Some, villain activities that's been happening recently. And to the age, they are now in the beginning of middle school. 3 years. So Deku is now... was I procrastinating? Nah. Yeah, probably. So Deku's now 13 now. He's saddened by many things. He visits a lot of, I guess, not visits, morally visits, a teacher he knew that was very nice to him. I like the only teacher he kind of knew, so yeah. At least on a personal level. Yeah. He'd also visit the doctor because, after, the entire year of, the decent amount of time, he had to have, everything, from his blood, out of his blood, so yeah. They had to make sure, none of, all the chemicals are completely out, just checkups here and there to make sure, his body isn't, functioning improperly due to certain toxins. So, yes. But there was, how would you say... Deku was... He was brought to the hospital one day. As one day his mind would kind of not shatter, but on the lines of insanity, you would say. Being, abused, not just that, but kind of being betrayed and other things, kind of messed with Deku's. He kind of, for a short time, he kind of went to helping facility to kind of help him with that. But, they try, this is a very good helping facility. They try, brutal ways to kind of, make you normal again, I guess, to, normal sanity, so you actually have sanity. What I mean by that is, they use shock treatment, practically. Deku's, he's trying, get out, trying to get out the room, as, doctors are pulling him back. Different hospital, by the way. On the edge of the city. As Deku was dragged to a room, as they try to cure him, as Deku nowadays would see all these different things, not knowing what they are, screaming at night, waking up with sweat, waking up out of a dry sweat, as he's scared in the first time. He feels that something's coming, but he doesn't know what's coming. He's very scared. That's when something will happen. When they forced him into the chair, that is when the magic started happening. Deku, almost out of restraint or paranormal, kind of got shot into the chair. Kind of, they didn't know what he, like an inch or like a foot. He kind of floated, like, forcefully to the chair. As, the straps were kind of, I guess mentally, or not mentally, but kind of paranormally kind of attached to him already. Kind of, as soon as he went on the chair, it kind of just wrapped around him, kind of, locked in place. Deku, he was scared. He didn't know what was happening. As when the first shock came, it was a little shock, of course. They wanted to tease Deku, because, they're pretty mean people, so they wanted to tease Deku. Just giving him little shocks here and there, just some that, can give him lightheadedness. Not, very strong shocks. Until, they give him, like, they increase the voltage a little bit, thinking he was like, oh, it's going to be a huge shock now. They're messing with Deku's head. As in, that's when they kind of, met max volts and kind of, yeah. They almost fried Deku's brain, I would say. What I mean by that is, on a rank of ranked of 1 to 10, or like a rank of 1 to 5, they were, they're doing like 1s, 2s. As soon as that happened, they went an instant 5, or like an instant 10. Which kind of almost, killed Deku, like, immediately after, the shock to the brain. Yes, curing him of his insanity, but giving birth to something very sinister. Or very dangerous for a human being. As another entity was created. In the shape of a doctor. Well, yes. Deku, he saw this image in his head, not knowing what this is, but he knew that all the images from his mind and, these memories that weren't his, calmed down. So, yes. That is the second trial. The third trial. No one knew this, not even Mitsuki, because, yeah, I'll say Dr. Uchiko, found, oh, this kid has a very useful quirk, illusion quirk, like, Master All, for one, can use very, stealthily. He tried to take it, but, is sentient, so, yeah. Quirks, I guess? Quirk? Depends. I guess it'll be more of a reality replication if you think about it, kind of. You know what, never mind. Deku, no one, not even Mitsuki wouldn't know where he is, as one day on the age of 15, he kind of went back to, he assigned himself, he got an apartment by now, he went to middle school with Bakugou. Unknowingly, because he didn't even know Bakugou was, going to the same school, so, he kind of just, went to a random, middle school. Eventually, ending up, where Bakugou is. Deku, his hair is a lot more darker. The green, the light green was no more. It was more of like a kind of, I guess, like, how would I say? Like, there's like a light green streak, like a dark green streak. Like, different types of green is the hair. But they're either mostly dark. So, yeah. Different types of, green in his hair. But eventually, they mostly turned, one, like, a dark lime. As, Deku's eyes kind of lit up. At least once during the shock therapy. That kind of, didn't mess with, his mentality. Eventually, he's going to middle school, meets Bakugou. At at the age of 15. That's where there would be something different, though. This third event will have technically 2 scenes. Yeah. As, Bakugou's like, where were you? I don't know, doing as like, you damn nerd, where were you? Did you try to run away? That proves you right, because you're a freak and whatnot, Bakugou just bullying Deku, practically. Deku doesn't say anything. He has, his kind of like a, not a Nomicon, but, kind of like a book where, he writes down all the killers and whatnot. Even has the entity in it. Like, the entity itself. I mean, he does know of the, the entity, but I mean, it's not, he doesn't see the entity directly. He kind of sees it on, like, a side route. He kind of has himself in the book as well. So, yeah. His writing in his, book. As the book itself will have 5 markings. Or tally marks, if you will. 4 tally marks straight, and, across there will be another tally mark. Making the appearance of the picture of Dead by Daylight. As the main, tally marks of, the game. So, yes. Bakugou, would ask Deku. Or not ask Deku, but kind of, tell Deku the same thing as in canon, take a swan dive off a roof. Deku, he kind of does, not gonna lie. How you'd say... He did. And depending on the way you see it. He walks off the roof. Or not walks off, he goes upstairs, the final floor. He jumps over the gate, because let's say there's a gate on, the roofs. He, just watching the floor. As he just, tilts his body as he falls. As Deku now is going to get some food. Deku's going to get food. As he eventually goes under a bridge. Certain bridge. I have even better. The villain. It doesn't happen in the bridge, but the second location of the Sludge villain. Where it attacked Bakugou. It's over there. I say, they kind of reverse, ways. So, Bakugou's squad went under the bridge, and, he went, in the second location. As the Sludge villain's kind of running, in a, alleyways, Deku's kind of walking. What's wrong with me? Why can't I think properly? What are these images in my head? I can't define nor think of the possibilities that these creatures, these people have. As that is when I'll take your body, kid. Your body's now mine. As a Sludge villain captures Deku. As not gonna lie, they're on impact or contact with Deku's skin. There was, kind of a explosion, making fire everywhere. So, still having the same, fiery, giant, fire pit practically. And as in canon. How, still does happen, if Deku dies, the entity dies, everyone else dies with it. Or at least the killers the entity created itself. Like, the K-pop killer and, just, the things it created itself, practically. like the witch, I believe, and other things like that. So yeah. So you know, kind of had a slight explosion, kind of you know burning like half of the the entire the entire block's in flames now. As no heroes try to I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. As we go to a flashback with All Might. Yes, Deku still meets All Might, but in a different manner. All Might is more of the lines of jumping, street to street, looking for the Sludge villain. As you know, Deku, he asks All Might a question, but, before he can even ask the question, All Might jumps. Deku grabs his leg, asks the big question. All Might says no. You can't become a hero. Especially if your, Quirk is useless. Because I'll say Deku doesn't know the full complexity of his quirk, so he'll just say it's, it's a, minor, nothing much, just like a minor, illusion quirk, just kind of like a magic trick quirk. Which, All Might says, nah, bro, sorry, you can't become a hero. Nah, you can't become a hero. As now we go to present time, as Deku's in the Sludge villain. So yeah. Everyone's around Deku, everyone's around Deku, people trying to save him, but they too, they too chicken, enter some fire. So yeah. Enter to fire. So yeah. Anyways, that's when something happens. Something out in the crowd with a black mist almost, with purple eyes, walks out the crowd, or kind of levitates, I guess, almost off the like out of the crowd. It walks in director's direction. Do not worry. I will not make the same mistake twice. As this entity grabs Deku out, or this person or thing grabs Deku out of the Sludge villain. As the Sludge villain kind of tries, take the person instead, but when the person goes inside the Sludge villain, he vanishes. As that's when the entire BS starts happening. As Deku gets restricted, like, you can't use your quirk and blah blah blah. I was like, bruh, first of all, I don't know how that happened. Mine's an illusion-based quirk, and it's barely something. Not just that, but that was all self-defense, my guy. I was about to die, and you gonna say I'm not allowed to use my quirk? Like, what? Like, get out of here. As someone, a person with, with a purple, night guard suit comes on, is like, ah, my boy, there you are. I was looking for you, my boy. As a certain purple figure, purple, clothed figure, very similar to a lot of you, appears, besides Deku. Ah, sorry. Are you okay, my boy? Did that villain hurt you at all? As the heroes let him go. As the purple figure walks with Deku. So, kid, nice ability you got there. Huh? What you mean ability? Don't be dumb. I know your illusion, whatever quirk is, illusion-based thing. It's more than illusions. It's almost like reality warping in a sense, but more of a dimensional travel, if you will. At least from what I'm able to tell. But don't worry. Hey kid, is anyone around? No, not that I see. As this purple man takes something out from his pocket. Or out from his chest. Or, chest pocket or something. That on his clothes. He, takes something, like a little circle-ish thing, it looks like. He, he clicks a button on it, and the entity shows itself. something so horribly horrific, something so terrifying for normal people, something that's gruesome almost, as if someone created it, like Frankenstein's monster. As Deku was now looking at a 6-foot entity. Yeah, about 6 foot, about a 6-foot entity. So, anyways, hi. If it wasn't for me, you would have died, boy. Be grateful. Who are you? I'm Springtrap. I don't know how I got here, but all I know is that I'm not where I'm supposed to be. What do you mean? I'm not from this, how would you say, world. As you know, Deku, he gets out his book because, he doesn't really, when he does, draw the characters, he doesn't really pay attention. He kind of, he's usually sleeping when he does it. He kind of like a autopilot thing, so he kind of, he doesn't know who he's writing down, but, it's being written by him. So, he looks through his book, there's like 100, not 100, but, there's a good, like 20, like 30 pages of, killers. He eventually walks on, a certain page that looks exactly like this figure. Springtrap, a.k.a. William Afton. At a point at Freddy Fazbear's Diner, a boy was bitten, being the son of William Afton. The man, infuriated and enraged by the bullies and his own other son, or not son, more of a friend's son adopted by him, bullied his youngest, or second to youngest. Eventually, the bullying went too far and got his poor boy killed. As the man was infuriated by this, his only child, or his second child, first, second, whatever number it is, his favorite child, his poor boy, has been killed by the one he so promisely raised by his passed away friend. He was aggravated as he made a promise to his friend Henry to adopt his boy and make sure his boy grows up fine and well. William was infuriated, eventually leading him to a dark path. For vengeance, William Afton killed the children, including his own friend's son, who bullied his own son. Eventually, they never found the bodies being hidden in animatronics. Eventually, the spirits came back to haunt him for what he thought was justice, but was a twisted version of it. As the spirits themselves arise to haunt him, as he decided to put on the very thing he used to lure them in, to kill them. As his laughter echoed through the pizzeria, as another stepped forward, as a laugh stopped and turned into more of pain and agony, as the suit's malfunctioned spring locks failed itself, crushing the man within. The police found it, but thought it unnecessary to remove it, being too heavy and too lazily to care. As the next thing that would happen, being stuck in 30 years. And eventually the old pizzeria was built upon. And the old secret room was under a ball pit. As the secret room itself was hidden. As eventually, as 30 years passed, the man would awaken once more. Fueled by rage and hatred for those who killed his boy. As remnants will be filled by him, powered by him. His soul not resting until everyone who was involved with his boy's death was no more. As he broke through the concrete holding him from under the ball pit, as he erased out of a new era, as the ball pit was arisen, and here came Springtrap. As over years he has succeeded killing many to fulfill his revenge and vengeance. After one certain burn down or walk through, he eventually found upon a portal, one mysterious, one annoying. As he walked through it, it was transferred to another. As that's where the page left off. So you're William Afton, huh? Surprising you know all that, kid. Anyways, I can't really get out of here, if you can see. As him and Deku start to talk. As that day forward, Deku would have a twisted perception on life. Seeing those who misunderstood and who take things for granted all the time will be forcefully judged upon himself. He would judge those who take things for granted and punish them, not knowing that they think they can have better, but while others are trying to struggle to just have the same lifestyle as they do. As it started off as one person, and eventually hundreds. As Glitchtrap and Deku would find more about his abilities and what he can do, he eventually left town or the city into an empty place on the outskirts or outside of the city. Out in the middle of nowhere, in between Japan and, inside the Japan, in between the middle of nowhere. As there's nothing but miles and miles and miles of land. As this is where Deku created what he needed. Creating maps upon areas of land. Creating them from the very foundation out of what it seems to be just thin air. As the killers from his mind came to life, as the pages on the book looks like they were out, like they were crawling out of the book, coming to life, going into their areas. As the entire area was guarded by not just walls, but layers of walls, metal, trash, scrap, gates, and other things. As there's this giant whirlpool in the sky, as if you can see it from above in an airplane, as there's a giant, almost tornado, ginormous place of tornado kind of swirling down or swirling in the sky, revealing something powerful and almost godlike. As almost looking like spider legs came and started creating everything with a Deku. As once you stepped in, you would have to go through 100 trials to get out alive. You have to win every trial, by the way. If you have one missed trial and die while trying and be resurrected, you will not be freed until you get 100 straight wins. And if you know the Dead by Daylight or lore, every time a person dies, they don't technically die. They get more lines resurrected, go back to, the fireplace. And every time they do die and get resurrected, they feel like a part of them left them. Eventually twisting their minds as if a part of them was missing. Eventually twisting their minds, creating killers themselves. As that is how, killers were, born, or, the ones created by, the entity were created. Yeah. They're technically originally survivors until, everything happened. Or at least some of them were. So, yeah. As Deku would stay and just watch as hundreds of people. I guess not hundreds, because technically they're like 6 maps? 10 maps? Decent amount of maps. As you know, they're kind of like in a labyrinth almost. Like every section is like their own map. So, yeah. Only when the time is right will it go. And the thing is, it wouldn't be in the ground either. It would be in the sky. It would be like this giant sphere or something of some sort. It would technically also be on the ground, but it'd be weird. It kind of be like on the ground and in the sky at the same time. It'd be weird. It kind of like a reality magic voodoo stuff. Kind of like the what was it called from the game? What was it called? I can't remember. Anyways, it's like a floating, city almost. Floating city, practically. There's 2 parts of it. There's the city itself, and then the shadow of the city, where there's kind of just a giant crater or a giant ravine hole in it, where those are where the souls of the undead kind of go. After not they go, but kind of the ones that are used for fuel to kind of provide power for the entity, I guess. So yeah. As in the floating city of Dead by Daylight, Deku will see multiple people. He would eventually meet all of them individually, but yeah. As once one book closes, another one opens. As this will be heard all around the world. As not all around, but all around Japan. Because it's a very big, city. Very much noticeable. Because, there's like acres of land that Deku just has in the sky. So, if you don't notice that, then I don't know what you notice. So, yeah. And I'm including all types of maps. Even ones that aren't even in the game yet. So, yeah. DLC maps that aren't even in the game yet, ones that were planned to be a game that weren't in the game yet. So yeah, there's a decent about 20 to 50 different maps. So yeah, there's a lot of things people would like to add in Dead by Daylight, which I'm adding all of them to this. So yeah, about a 50 decent amount of things happening. So yeah, Deku kind of his own, I guess, Phoenix Force almost. But a dark version of the Phoenix Force. So yeah. As you know, the thing was, when I mean acres of land, I mean Deku doesn't, bring in the maps from, the Dead by Daylight game, but he also brings the cities and, the entire cities and origins that the killers have with them. So, where they were born, Deku kind of, brings their, kind of like like a fusion, kind of, bringing their dimensions here, or, their dimensions to, his reality. So kind of like a Age of Prime or something, like from Transformers, where they try to bring Cybertron, to Earth. So kind of like that. That's probably what he did. So, cities and, they're kind of all, combusted as well. They're kind of, just together like a giant sphere. So, yeah. Pretty big. Pretty flippin' huge. There's maps of Dead by Daylight. There's cities that are from the origins of the killers. There's, like, many things. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff. And they still have all their properties. Like, if they have, things that they're, like, Silent Hill, that, it still has, it's, sentient stuff, it's darkness and whatnot. It's just kind of, inside there as well. So, yeah. Pretty big. Yeah. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot of people in this series that I'm going to be adding. A hell of a lot. Springtrap being one of them. Pyramid Head, the Legion, and a couple others as well. And if you want me to add any other killers or, things that might be or, are, in progress of being added to the game, I would add them to the series, if you will. As then, all of Japan, I guess it would kind of be its own continent now that I think about it. It would kind of be its own continent because just imagine how many flipping people and, like, how many ideas there are. Like, he have, like, his own state practically. Like, mini state practically. Like a small state. So, yeah. Just full of, like, killers and, all these other stuff. So, yeah. I'll, like, have an entire list of, like, all the things that are in this, What should we name the floating city? Or, I guess, technically, floating state. Daylight City, that's what I'm going to call it. Daylight City. Anyways, yeah. That is where I'm going to end off in this video. I will add more as the series continues on. And I'll see you all later.